You are standing beside a dead antelope nearly 2.5 million years ago. There is enough meat on it to keep your group alive for days, but you did not kill it. A big cat did, and it may still be somewhere in the grass. Hyenas have already smelled the blood. Vultures are circling overhead, advertising the meal to every carnivore nearby. You have no bow, no spear you can trust, no fire you can count on. You are slower than almost every animal worth catching, weaker than every predator guarding the carcass, and your flat teeth cannot even slice through its skin. Behind you, the fruit trees are nearly empty. The dry season has baked the ground hard. You cannot hunt the antelope. You cannot fight the animals that can, and you cannot survive much longer without food. So how did our ancestors stay alive for millions of years before they became hunters? First, forget the familiar caveman carrying a perfect spear. Go much further back, before Homo sapiens, before Neanderthals, and before organized big game hunting. Our ancestors were smaller, more ape-like hominins living between trees, woodlands, and expanding grasslands. There was no single moment when gathering stopped and hunting began. For a very long time, different species ate different things in different places, but evidence suggests that some of our earliest relatives survived mainly on plants. A recent analysis of Australopithecus teeth from South Africa found no evidence that mammal meat was a major part of their diet. That sounds easy until you remember that wild plants do not arrive washed, peeled, and placed in a bowl. Fruit was valuable, but temporary. One tree could be full for a few weeks and useless for the rest of the year. Leaves were everywhere, but many were difficult to digest and poor in energy. Seeds and nuts could be trapped inside shells tougher than human teeth. Roots and underground plant parts survived when the surface dried out, but they were buried beneath soil that could become almost as hard as stone. Some plants were toxic, others looked nearly identical to safe ones. A wrong bite could cause sickness, weakness, or death. Survival required an enormous living map. Which tree produced fruit? Which root contained water? Which seed needed cracking? Which plant was safe during one season but dangerous during another? And where to find all of them when the rains failed? That knowledge turned an apparently empty landscape into a hidden pantry. A patch of dry grass might conceal edible bulbs beneath the ground. A rotting log might contain insects and larvae. Shallow water could offer eggs, shellfish, stranded fish, turtles, or small animals that were easier to catch than an antelope. None of these foods looked heroic. There was no dramatic battle with a mammoth, but that was the point. The safest food was often the food that could not outrun you, bite you, or attract a pack of hyenas. Our ancestors did not need one perfect meal. They needed enough small victories to survive another day. Then, stone changed what counted as food. At Lomekwi in Kenya, archaeologists discovered deliberately worked stones dating to approximately 3.3 million years ago, long before the appearance of Homo sapiens, and even before the earliest known members of our genus. The exact purpose of those tools remains uncertain, but they prove that extremely ancient hominins were already learning how stone could be struck, fractured, and manipulated. Later, sharp flakes could cut through skin and tissue far better than fingernails. Heavy stones could smash hard shells, crush tough plants, and break open bones. A carcass that looked empty to a lion might still contain one of the richest foods available, marrow sealed inside the skeleton. Predators had teeth designed to reach some of it. Our ancestors learned to use another rock as a key, but obtaining meat did not automatically make them hunters. A fresh carcass was a dangerous opportunity with a very short clock. Arrive too early, and the animal that made the kill was still feeding. Arrive too late, and the hyenas had crushed the bones. Early hominins may have watched vultures, followed predators, discovered animals that died naturally, frightened smaller scavengers away, or taken pieces during brief openings. At Kanjera South in Kenya, animal bones dating to around 2 million years ago preserve repeated cutting and hammerstone damage. Researchers concluded that hominins repeatedly obtained meat, organs, and marrow from numerous animals, including relatively complete small antelope carcasses. Exactly how every animal died is impossible to know. Some may have been killed, trapped, stolen, or simply found. The important discovery is that animal food was no longer an occasional accident. Our ancestors were learning how to enter the carnivore world without yet ruling it. Doing that alone would have been nearly suicidal. In a group, one individual could watch the grass while another cut meat. Several pairs of eyes could notice circling vultures, fresh tracks, fruiting trees, or a predator returning to its kill. Different members could remember different water holes and food patches. Even when one search failed, another person might return with something. Group living did not magically create food, but it reduced the chance that every search ended badly on the same day. The earliest details of food sharing are difficult to recover from fossils, but the larger advantage is clear. Many weak individuals could combine attention, memory, warning calls, carrying, and simple tools into something much harder to starve. And this may have been the real secret. Most animals survive by becoming excellent at one job. A lion is built to kill large prey. A vulture is built to locate carcasses. A grazing animal is built to process grass. But specialization becomes a trap when the environment changes. If the prey disappears, the lion suffers. If carcasses disappear, the vulture suffers. Our ancestors were not the best hunters, scavengers, climbers, diggers, or plant eaters. They were increasingly able to switch between all of them. When fruit disappeared, they dug. When plants failed, they searched near water. When predators abandoned a carcass, they cut. When the flesh was gone, they smashed bone. When one habitat became dangerous, they carried tools and knowledge into another. Evidence from Kanjera suggests that this flexibility, finding food, water, and useful materials across both open grasslands and wooded habitats, was already becoming central to early Homo around 2 million years ago. Over hundreds of thousands of years, those desperate little strategies began connecting. Watching scavengers revealed where animals died. Reading tracks revealed where they traveled. Cutting carcasses taught our ancestors where the flesh, organs, and marrow were hidden. Defending food encouraged cooperation. Carrying stones meant useful tools could be brought into places where the right rocks did not naturally exist. Skills first used to exploit leftovers could eventually be turned toward obtaining fresh animals. Slowly, the creature waiting for predators to finish began arriving before they did. Then it began competing with them. Eventually, it began producing carcasses of its own. Hunting was not one magical invention that suddenly rescued a helpless species. It grew from a much older ability, finding value where stronger animals saw nothing. Before humans became powerful enough to control the food chain, they survived by refusing to depend on one part of it. They ate what was available, learned what was hidden, opened what other animals could not open, and remembered what worked. We were not saved by one superfood, one weapon, or one secret trick. We survived because whenever one answer failed, our ancestors found another. Long before humans became the world's greatest hunters, they had already become the world's most difficult animal to starve.